Dave, good evening to you, sir.
Good evening to you. Merry Advent.
Merry Advent, Happy Festivus, Merry Christmas, and all the rest.
Thank you.
Great piece, Barack Obama and gun control, effective and shrewd. Now, I got to tell you, Dave, I'm drawing a blank. Was this at the New Ledger?
No, this was in Encyclopedia Britannica. The Encyclopedia Britannica has a weblog, and this is the second time I've written something for that, where they'll and what the thing they frequently do on the weblog is pick a particular topic for the week and then invite, say, a dozen people to write for it. So this week they're doing assessing Obama after 2 years. And this is my contribution to that.
And so you wrote about Barack Obama and gun control. You say effective and shrewd, which is interesting because, the Brady campaign has been very vocal over the last year or so, complaining that Obama hasn't done anything for the gun control movement. You say actually quite the opposite.
I'd call two Supreme Court justices something as a starting point. That's pretty good. He picked a total anti-gun extremist as head of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. He ought to get some credit from them for that, although I think their rants about him were before the appointment of Andrew Traver. And, we've had about a half dozen different regulations or, changes in policy being pushed in all kinds of various places within the Obama administration. And, some of them did not succeed, like the ban on the import of folding knives. But some of them have, like the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms new regulation or new interpretation, which cracks down on professional testing companies and firearms journalists receiving temporary loaner guns to use in their product evaluations.
Because we all know the problem that firearms journalists pose to this country.
Well, the funny thing is, BATFI actually admitted when they were doing this new regulation, this new interpretation, that since the Gun Control Act of 1968, when they made their original interpretation, that there had never been a single problem associated with the fact that, let's say you're a firearms owner in New Jersey. The federal law says you can, and you're going to test a gun for, say, Guns and Ammo or the American Rifleman.
Mm-hmm.
The firearms company can ship the gun could in the past, for the last 42 years, could ship the gun directly to you. You test it for 2 weeks, and then you ship it back. So you don't have to go through the licensing process in New Jersey to own a gun, which is a very cumbersome time and takes many weeks. Or you think about, say, a laboratory in Massachusetts that does the kind of testing that's required for the sale of firearms in Massachusetts, where they got to be put through all kinds of drop tests and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That gun company's constantly going to have guns coming in and out. But if you make that go through the licensing system, then you got to get the sheriff to approve every transaction. It makes it much more difficult in practice. So here BATFI really is knowingly creating a serious problem for a part of the firearms business, and apparently has no justification at all for doing so. It's fixing. There was no problem at all to be solved. Zero.
Wow.
And of course, but this didn't cost Barack Obama any political capital.
Right.
Nobody was having marches on Washington or big debates on CNN over this. It just got pushed through at essentially zero political cost to him.
And Dave, as we have seen over the past week or so, Washington Post with a big multi-part series that has been going on for months. One of the papers in Michigan, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, and today the New York Times with an editorial, all basically taking the administration to task and saying more needs to be done. The New York Times explicitly saying today that the president needs to consider or should issue an executive order that would require the reporting of multiple sales of long guns. In essence, knowing that this wouldn't get through Congress, Obama needs to go ahead and enact this via an executive order. Are the media now, pushing Obama to be more of a gun control stalwart?
Oh, sure. I think they're one of his important political constituencies. They were not exactly neutral in the 2008 race. They're They're a part of his base, and a part of his base that's gotten somewhat dissatisfied with him for other reasons. So sure, I think that the media pressure certainly could enter into his political calculus for what he does in the future. Now, the trade-off for him is that you do this. This is the kind of thing that leads to confrontations with Congress. On the other hand, another difference that may apply in 2011 and 2012 is in 2009 and 10, Obama had a Congress that was really ready to give him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And, he pushed through a tremendous amount of legislation. I mean, you probably look at the first 2 years of Roosevelt and the first 2 years of Lyndon Johnson are the only comparable periods in the last century, at least, maybe ever, where you've had so much important legislation enacted by Congress. And so he, I think, intelligently said, let me keep on going and going and going and going on things that this Congress will do that I want and that the Congress wants. And let's not waste my time and Congress's time and my political capital getting in a big fight over gun control. Because when Eric Holder and others did float those gun control trial balloons early on in the administration, Congress came back very negatively. And I think, as my article explains, one of the key things was after Holder answered a reporter's question and said, we want to renew the ban on so-called assault weapons, 65 Democratic members of Congress, of the U.S. House, organized by the NRA, sent a joint letter to Holder saying, no, we are against any new assault weapon ban. We're going to vote against it. Don't do it. And so then you can see, well, if most of the Republicans are against it, now you got 65 Democrats who've just sworn they're going to oppose it.
Yeah.
It's hopeless. So I think Rahm Emanuel and probably Obama himself were wise to say, well, why should we push on this front where we can't win, where we can do so much else on so many other things, and we can win.
And looking at the next Congress, Dave, it's actually more Second Amendment friendly than the one that will be leaving us soon, even though half of the Blue Dogs are not going to be coming back. They did not win re-election. This is going to make the Democratic Party in Congress and the progressive wing of the Democratic Party much larger. Do you anticipate then, does this signal that over the next 2 years, Obama doesn't have to worry as much about those 65 House Democrats writing a letter to Attorney General Eric Holder? Might he be more apt to pick a fight, despite the fact, again, that it may not be a winnable fight? He is going to be running for re-election. Is it likely, you think, that this would be a fight he would pick?
Well, I think it's at least possible, because this incoming Congress is not going to be one that is going to be looking at the Obama agenda and saying how much can we pass as fast as possible.
Right.
So he doesn't face the cost of, if Congress spends a week in a big fight over gun control, it's not like that takes away a week of time when Congress would have been passing the Obama agenda. So that's a big difference in calculation. And then another difference is, if you look at the Democrats that Nancy Pelosi leads, and one of the reasons she got reelected now as minority leader is because she has done a reasonably good job of responding to the needs of her caucus. And as you say, it's even a more pro-gun House now, or coming in 2011, than we have currently. But the proportion of Democrats who are pro-gun and of senior Democrats who are pro-gun has dropped pretty significantly. So to the extent that she's representing the main line of her caucus's interests, she has less reason to hold back on an anti-gun and promoting an anti-gun agenda.
All right. Dave, as always, sir, I'm really glad you could be with us on the program. And if we don't talk to you before the new year, Happy New Year to you as well. And I know we'll be speaking again very soon.
Sounds great. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you and everyone in Radioland.
Thanks, Dave. Have a great evening.